Hello and welcome to the Engerati studio live at European Utility Week. I'm Rose and I'm joined now by Maher Chebbo, President of the European Smart Metering Industry Group, ESMIG. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I believe you just held an ESMIG meeting yesterday, so I'm quite keen to hear the kind of any outcomes from that meeting that you could share with us.
Yeah. First of all, yes, we started as a European Smart Metering Industry Group. And since I became the president of ESMIG 2.5 years ago, we looked at the market, we looked at the outlook, we looked at where we have to go. And we decided to change the focus of ESMIG. So we start focusing on the smart energy management, on the data, on the services we deliver to the last mile to the customer. We actually created a group on customer energy management and how to bring the maximum value to the consumers, more than being focused on the hardware. So today, ESMIG, as European Smart Energy Association, has a focus on everything which relates to the energy management at the consumer, commercial industrial customers, as well as residential customers. We discussed our strategy for the next year, and we said we need also to help countries to go down from a European association and to help member states in what they are doing. So we will select 3 to 5 countries where we will put the focus next year. Some of them are in Eastern Europe, okay. Others are big West European countries, and we will work with the regulator, we will work with the utilities to help them into the promotion of the smart energy solutions beyond smart metering in their countries.
Okay. Yeah, is that the kind of needs you've identified, that perhaps countries are getting smart meters but not quite sure how to get the kind of value from them?
Absolutely. So this is the point. There are some countries that they have done a business case, but the expectation is not what the business case said. And there are some countries where they have done a cost-benefit analysis, and the cost-benefit analysis was not that positive. In total, according to the third energy package, all the countries, the EU 28, had to do a cost-benefit analysis by September 2012.
Yeah.
2/3 of them provided a positive business case. 1/3, they said, we don't know, or the business case is not that good. Our job here is to help the 2/3 of them to really confirm and see the results in terms of the business case benefits. And the 1/3 in looking and helping them, saying, okay guys, did you look at the business case only for the hardware itself? Did you look only at the smart metering, or did you look at the smart grids as an overall picture? And what is beyond the smart meter in terms of smart energy services you deliver to the customer?
Okay. So where do you see the most value in smart meters? I mean, is it the cost saving for the customer, or is it the sort of benefit for the utility?
Yeah. So the main value of the smart metering project is, first of all, to be capable to read and to understand, to measure what the customers are consuming in real time. We cannot really manage something we cannot measure. And so far in the area of energy, we were extrapolating and measuring things based on the previous years. So when we are capable then to measure, we can then manage. And we can manage when you have also a peak demand during the day, and when you have also a complex energy capacity. So when you have a simple house where you are just consuming with some bulbs and the TV and the fridge, it's simple. But tomorrow the future will be much more complicated. You might have an electrical vehicle, you might be self-generating energy. You might also want to get a source of revenues out of the energy capacity that you have when you don't use it. When you are, for example, on holidays, you have a certain capacity coming from photovoltaics, you have some storage, and you can sell it to the neighborhood. What we want to do is to offer to every customer the capacity to get the best return on the energy capacity which is being installed as an extended energy capacity in the house.
Let's just go back to the European rollouts. I mean, you said, part of the remit is to help those countries realise the value and kind of be able to meet their kind of, deadlines. How confident are you that, that 2020 deadline will be achieved?
Yeah. So we will be around 72%. Possibly we can still reach out close to 80%, which was the target. Are we going to have that in 2020 to finish the full rollout? No, we aren't. We will finish the roll out in some countries. That happened in Italy, for example, in Sweden. There is France with it deploying the smart meters there, and they will get there. But we will have around 2020, 2022 actually, we will have 72 to 80% achieved, which is still a big number, which is 200 million customers in Europe that will be deployed with smart meters. Now, the objective of the third energy package was smart metering purely. And now what we try to do is to say, look, the story is not about smart meters or smart metering only, it's about an overall solution around smart metering. And we start putting some KPIs about the deployment of smart energy solutions at home. How many houses have been transformed into smart homes, for example? Our prediction is to have, by 2020 to 2025, 90% of the commercial industrial customers equipped with smart energy solutions. Okay. And for the residential customers, 70% of them will be equipped. This is our prediction by 2025 latest.
Okay. And can we talk about data collection and storage? Because obviously it's varying in each member state. What types of storage examples are you seeing?
Mm-hmm. So the batteries are storage, for example, and you could imagine all kind of applications with the storage in the house or storage in the batteries, for example, of cars. When you have an excess of storage, you can sell it to the neighborhood, for instance. You can go to eBay and sell consumer to consumer when the data is available. It's very important to have the data available, and it's a request from the European Commission is to have the data available from the ones who measure these data, typically in Europe the distribution system operators, and in UK the retailers are the ones who collect this data. The availability of this data will help the PMEs to innovate, will help these small and mid-sized enterprises to innovate, to create new services with it. The consumer still is responsible for the data, and he is the one who will say yes or no, this data will be shared. But this data has to be shared between the network system operators who handle it in most of the countries and the ones who want to innovate on it. We have projects where we created platforms where the data could be on the cloud and could be then shared with the services companies. We have a project, we are in the middle of the project called Flexi-Sciency, which is a European Horizon 2020 funding where we have 18 companies working on it. And our objective is to have in the future something like an Apple Store, where the ones who own the data, who can package this data into apps or services, put it on that platform, and that could be shared with the services companies, ESCOs, or the retailers that could download it, avoid that they reinvent the wheel, and provide, for example, energy efficiency, demand response management services to the consumers. So the role of the platforms will be important. The role of the business networks will be important. The data will be floating to go into cloud marketplaces, electronic marketplaces, to make it as available as possible and to accelerate as well the deployment of the new services.
Yeah. We've been reading quite a lot about blockchain and its potential for smart meter data. What's ESMIG's
So
approach
that's
to that?
interesting. Our group, which is focusing on the security, which is led by Gimalto, a member of ESMIG, is actually exploring the blockchain as well, is involved in different working groups. We believe that could be interesting and that could bring more automation and more exchange to the game. The warnings we would give is blockchain doesn't solve the problem of the data quality.
Right.
So if you have rubbish in, you will have rubbish out, and if the rubbish goes in the tubes, it will end up at the end of the tunnel really completely rubbish. You cannot do anything about it, and you can have maybe bad decisions taken at the end of the chain. So this is the kind of warnings, and we have provided our point of view in that area as well to the working groups on the blockchain. We're also working part of an organization which has been created recently called Cybersecurity, European Cybersecurity Organization, EXO, where there is 180 members, and ESMIG is also participating in that.
Okay. So the security aspect is obviously quite a big thing. In terms of, sorry Nick, I might just ask that question again.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, go for it.
Actually, I wanted to touch on the, I'm sorry. Just you said something there that I just wanted to follow up on. Yeah, the data quality.
Yes, the
That's
security
what,
and the data.
Yeah. So shall I just, Nick, just look?
You just keep looking.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So you mentioned about data quality being, absolutely essential because, that's what you're going to kind of end up with. How can utilities make sure that the data quality is better, optimal?
So this is a big problem actually. You can make very sophisticated solutions, invest billions, and if the data is not the right one, you will have wrong results at the end. You will measure wrong things. So in the traditional or the sophisticated projects, there should be always teams put in place that look after the data cleansing and making sure that the data is consistent and can work in the context we want to use them, and that will continue. Now, there is more and more studies being done by the utilities about monetization of the data and selling services around the data they have. I personally have been involved with different utilities, even in the Middle East as well, in the Emirates, where they are looking after building new services and monetizing these new services. And the first point they said, I cannot do it if my data is not of a good quality. We said, don't worry. We will put in place a team. The team will look at the consistency of the data. And this is why you need software systems that have a certain structure that can help you into looking at the consistency of the data. What's the data model? What's the link between a customer, points of delivery, meters, how many meters for what kind of consumption that you have, the premises at home, how you link it to the network. All that sophisticated data model needs to be put in place if you don't want to have errors at the end.
So has the conversation kind of moved on from getting the meter in and making it connect and communicate to actually, make sure that the quality of the data is good enough to be able to use?
Absolutely. I mean, the quality of the data, whether you are working in systems that are non-real-time or real-time, should be there. And since 30, 40 years when we started doing software or management systems, the quality of the data and the teams to clean it were in place. And now it's getting more and more sophisticated as well, because when you have real-time data being a vehicle, being sent, when you are in information technology or operational technology real-time systems, you have such a huge flow of data which is coming. So the role becomes very important to cleanse it and to make sure that you are not receiving that bad data. But still, you need to have systems that can give you the warnings, for example, when something is going wrong. You need to have proactively predictive maintenance, predictive analytics in place, that you run software, and that software tells you, for example, that here there is an exception or there is something which is a red flag.
Yeah.
Okay? So that predictive analytics area is becoming more and more important than before, where you need to have data scientists and to hire mathematicians, and a lot of utilities are thinking about building their own data scientists as well.
Okay, instead of outsourcing.
Yeah, they believe that the data is such an important topic in the future that they cannot 100% depend on others to do it for them.
Okay.
So they need to have a knowledge transfer, and they need to start building their teams with university, mathematicians, PhDs, and so on, because they know they will have full-time needs for using, analyzing, monetizing their data in the different areas, the areas of ERP, management of an enterprise, in the area of maintenance of assets, and in the area of the customer, for example, understanding the customer and so on. They have enough needs to build a team, a permanent team to work on that.
Interesting. So it's as much of an asset as the hardware behind them.
For me, it's like coming back to basics. We started with science. People forgot about science and said IT is different, IT management and so on is different. And now we come back and we say, look, I mean, IT, the technology is there, it's very sophisticated, we can do anything but we want, but we need to understand what we have, what's available. So the data is everywhere, but we need to understand even the data will be for free in the future. But where you need to spend your money, your investment and so on, is people who develop models. Aerospace industry understood that very well. They developed models to analyze and to have a cockpit inside the plane that can have the plane, navigating properly, depending on all the information they collect, aerodynamics, speed, wind, etc. They collect all that information, and it helps the pilot, who is piloting a plane in a very simple way. It doesn't need to be that sophisticated. The sophistication is in the plane itself, and the pilot is just relaxing. He can have a coffee because everything is intelligent in the cockpit itself.
Yeah.
And in energy and electricity, we will have data scientists as well developing models like it was developed in aerospace, for instance, who can help them navigating and taking decisions in maintenance, in customer, and in the overall information system.
We're going to end there. Thank you, Maher.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I hope it was helpful.
And remember, you can watch all of the interviews from European Utility Week on the Engerati YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.